You think you know Pinhead, but what I'm about to tell you was never shown on screen. The real story, before makeup, before fiction, before Hollywood. There was a man, there was blood, there were screams that never stopped. Forgotten documents reveal an origin erased from history. And it all began on a cold night in 1887 in the English countryside, with the birth of Elliot Spencer. Elliot's mother died minutes after giving birth, her insides torn apart. The midwife said the baby didn't cry, he just stared, as if he already understood everything. His father, an alcoholic and ex-soldier, hated the boy, called him cursed. At 7, Elliot was locked in the basement for 3 days. When they found him, he was smiling, and claw marks covered the floor like something had scratched the wood. At 12, Elliot ran away. He slept in graveyards, ate from the trash, but people stayed away. Dogs barked uncontrollably when he passed. Rats followed him silently. One night, a man tried to assault him in an alley. The next day, they found the man's body hanging from wires, skin flayed. Police never solved it. Locals whispered that Elliot wasn't human, and maybe never had been. In 1914, Elliot enlisted to fight in the Great War. But he didn't want to serve. He wanted to die, yet the war seemed to reject him. He survived bombings, bullets, mustard gas, returned untouched, but shattered inside. His comrades said he whispered to shadows, spoke names in unknown languages, and one word always came up: Leviathan. After the war, he vanished. Roamed across Europe, slept in ruins, read forbidden books, entered secret libraries. He became obsessed with pain and transcendence, until, in a crypt in Romania, he found a name: Le Marchand, a French artisan from the 18th century who crafted puzzle boxes. But these weren't containers, they were, portals. Elliot spent 2 years chasing leads. In Paris, he found a map with unknown symbols. In Budapest, a diary written in blood. Finally, in Istanbul, he saw it, the Le Marchand box. Metallic, black, with parts that moved on their own. The seller begged him not to buy it, said it didn't belong to this world. Elliot smiled, paid in gold and blood. He rented a basement, lit black candles, and locked himself in with the box. Neighbors heard screams for 3 nights. Screams that came from inside the walls. On the 4th day, silence. When they broke in, the room was empty. Just stains, like chains had dragged something, and on the mirror, drawn in dry blood. The flesh betrayed me, but pain revealed me. 11 years later, a convent in Rome found a man left at their doorstep, naked, covered in symmetrical scars, nails driven into his skull. No one knew where he came from. He didn't eat, didn't sleep, but didn't die either. A priest tried to bless him. The man smiled and replied in ancient Aramaic, "Blessing is pain and paradise is the labyrinth." All the monks vanished a week later. Doctors were called, priests, psychiatrists. No one could explain him. He didn't bleed. His skin healed instantly. His eyes never blinked. A nun had a heart attack after being alone with him. On the wall of his cell, a message appeared: High Priest of Agony, Servant of Leviathan. And on the floor, chains began to move on their own. No one entered again. Secret Vatican files were sent to the British government. DNA matched an old record. It was Elliot Spencer, but something had changed. He wasn't human. He wasn't divine. He was something else, a hybrid of flesh, pain, and silence. The documents were sealed, but one photo leaked. A man with nails in his skull, skin carved. That image would inspire a film character decades later. While the files were sealed, rumors spread among officials. They said Spencer hadn't just opened a portal, he fused with what lived beyond. A realm where pain isn't punishment, but language, where flesh and soul are torn until identity no longer exists. And within that realm, Elliot was renamed, no longer a man, now a Cenobite. Cenobites weren't demons, at least not in the religious sense. They were once human, now transformed into priests of pain, each shaped by their history, their trauma, their sins. Elliot became the cruelest. His rituals involved hooks, geometry made of muscle, and silent screaming. His temple, the labyrinth, ruled by one entity, Leviathan. Leviathan wasn't a god. It was a concept, a spinning pyramid at the center of the labyrinth, a core of perfect order, radiating black light and whispers in languages that drove minds mad. Pinhead, Elliot, served it without question. The box was the invitation. Those who opened it didn't die, they crossed over, and there Pinhead waited. With hooks, with patience, with a smile. In the following decades, unexplained cases spread across Europe. People vanished from locked rooms, others were found alive, with skin turned inside out. Every case shared one sign, a metallic box left nearby. In 1952, a Belgian monk escaped after opening one. He wrote in his journal, "Time doesn't pass in there, it tears." The Vatican confiscated his journal, but one copy survived. It described the labyrinth as endless corridors made of living flesh and iron. Voices lured the traveler toward them, to the Cenobites. They never ran. They simply arrived, slowly, smiling. Pinhead always came first, calm, methodical, and when he spoke, your bones listened, because even silence screamed down there. In 1960, a cult in Ukraine tried summoning Pinhead. They believed they could control him. 7 entered a bunker. None returned. All they left behind was a recorder. On it, a calm British voice saying, "I wasn't summoned, I was remembered." Then the rattle of chains, and one long exhale. That didn't sound human. That bunker was sealed forever. The cult of the Cenobites grew in the shadows. Symbols from the box appeared in murders. A killer in Oslo arranged bodies into cubes. A group in Canada drilled symmetrical holes into their skulls. They all believed one thing: the priest will come when the flesh is ripe. And every time, one name echoed again: Elliot Spencer. Meanwhile, Spencer's body never changed. Thermal scans showed no heat, but he moved, always at night, always near where a box was opened. Investigators called him the echo of original pain. He didn't chase victims, he waited, and anyone who opened the box willingly was visited. No one saw him twice, except the dead. One German detective, Hans Richter, survived. He found the box during a case, was presumed dead. 3 days later, he reappeared, naked, cross-stitched skin, eyes rolled back, repeating, "He is time, he is pain, he is me." He lived 6 more hours before his head simply exploded. No wounds, no sound, just silence. And then blood. After that, a secret order was created. The Sealers, experts in occult and dimensional science. They captured a box, locked it underground, inside a chamber with no mirrors, no metal. But even there, it moved on its own. When it did, the air filled with the smell of iron and rot, a reminder something on the other side was still breathing. During a test with the box, one sealer vanished for 19 minutes. The footage showed only darkness. When he returned, he was blind, his tongue torn out, on his chest, tattooed in dried blood. "I've seen what comes after flesh." He died 2 weeks later, after tearing off his own jaw, but just before he whispered, "Pinhead touched me gently." The Vatican cut ties with the Sealers after that. They declared the entity beyond any dogma, an ancient error. They believed Leviathan existed before creation itself, and that Pinhead was merely one of its reflections in flesh. Some claimed old Bibles once mentioned his name in Hebrew, Sethariel, the veil angel, guardian of truths too painful to be seen. Sethariel, according to forbidden texts, hid knowledge through agony. Elliot Spencer, fused with the labyrinth, became its vessel. Not man, not monster, a consequence. The box became his grammar. Every carved line a verb, every motion a command, every click a sentence. Opening it wasn't a sin, it was an invitation and a mirror. In the 1970s and 80s, more box cases emerged. Most were covered up, but some victims' families hired private investigators. One, Charles E. Harmon, traced symbols to a crypt in Prague. There he found hook marks, cleaned bones, and a tape. On it, a calm voice saying, "Pain reveals, flesh lies. Are you ready to be real?" Harmon lost his mind. He spent the rest of his life in an asylum, carving the box into every wall. In his journal, doctors found a phrase circled in blood. Pinhead doesn't feel, he translates. He is the echo of a scream no one ever heard. The journal is locked away in lead, and somehow it still bleeds. Meanwhile, new cults rose online. Secret forums shared ways to replicate the box. Some vanished after attempting it. Others claimed shared dreams, visions of endless corridors, breathing walls, chains humming in the dark. And always, him, smiling, silent. A presence that made them crave pain like hunger. A hacker from Texas leaked footage of a failed summoning. The video shows a replica box turning, then darkness, a flash of chains, a scream from inside the camera. In the final frame, one message written in ash: "What you called never left." The clip was erased in 48 hours, but those who saw it remember. Researchers noticed patterns. Places of collective suffering, abandoned hospitals, war zones, asylums, tend to wake up the box. In these places, reports rise, shared nightmares of living flesh, metallic sounds at night, and always a shape in the mirror, still, watching, not blinking, waiting. A symbology professor, Dr. Marcus Bell, wrote a banned paper in 1987. He said the box's core symbol mirrored the flower of life, but inverted. He called it the flower of pain, a living map, a sacred trap. Bell believed the box wasn't just a doorway, it was bait, and those who solved it were never chosen by mistake. 2 weeks after publishing, Bell vanished. His apartment was empty, except for a single box at its center. Officers felt dizzy near it. One heard chains, another fainted. They sealed the room in concrete, but witnesses say the floor pulses at night, like something buried is still breathing, still waiting. A manuscript attributed to Aleister Crowley, never published, mentioned Elliot Spencer. It claimed he crossed without returning, and flesh was never the end, only the mold. Crowley called him the Apostle of Absence, a man who became architecture. The text ended with a Latin prayer, not asking to be saved, but to be opened. Like a box. Unofficial reports say Elliot, now Pinhead, still appears when someone opens the box with true intent, not curiosity, desire, a hunger to go beyond pain, beyond skin. The box doesn't react to innocence, it awakens for hunger, and when it does, he arrives. Calm, precise. Because in his own words, "I am the balance between choice and consequence." Some victims survived for minutes in the labyrinth. Their last words were nightmares. One man said his tongue became barbed wire. A woman claimed chains kissed her like lovers. All said the same. He didn't run, didn't scream. He just watched. And the worst pain wasn't physical. It was what he showed you, what lies beneath your own skin. In 1994, an artifact found in the Syrian desert proved Cenobite expansion. A box made of bone with Sumerian inscriptions. Next to it, a human skull marked by hook wounds. No jaw. Inside the skull, a handwritten note. "The box was my door. Flesh was my punishment. He didn't take me. He rebuilt me." The Vatican tried to destroy a box. They burned it, crushed it, even exorcised it. Nothing worked. On day 3, the priest went mad. He gouged out his own eyes and wrote on the walls in blood, "Faith cannot block what was invited by desire." Since then, boxes are no longer burned, just sealed and watched. Between 2000 and 2010, reports stopped, as if everything paused. But experts say that was a cycle, a silence. In 2011, it returned, Tokyo. A girl vanished after buying a puzzle box from a street vendor. Her phone was found still recording, the last frame, chains in the ceiling, and a smiling nailed face. The box began to change, sometimes glass, sometimes bone, sometimes steel twisted by heat, as if adapting to each era's hunger. Some believe it's not just an object, it's a thought, a living symbol. Once dreamed of, it finds you. Because the labyrinth doesn't need to be summoned, it only needs to be remembered. Elliot Spencer did not die. He dissolved, transcended, became structure. Now, every intentional wound, every silent scream, every unspoken pain feeds him. Pinhead doesn't hunt, he feels. And when enough pain ripens, he returns, not to kill, but to reveal what's beneath the mirror, beneath your flesh. Today, the box lives in private collections, sealed vaults, secret museums, but no lock is eternal, and curiosity is a key. People keep opening, keep dreaming, keep vanishing, because the promise never changes. You will open, I will show, not hell, truth. And at the end, always the whisper, pain is revelation. This was Elliot Spencer's story, a real man, a soldier, a seeker, who found not heaven, not hell, but something between. Something made of chains, nails, and silence. He is the reflection of forbidden desire, buried by history, fed by curiosity. And now, it's time to tell how Hollywood found this story and turned it into fiction. In 1985, British writer Clive Barker visited an antique shop left by a dead relative. Among dusty books and forgotten things, he found a locked chest. Inside, yellowed newspapers, blurred photos, and a journal. The name on the cover chilled him. Elliot Spencer, Unfinished Confessions. It spoke of dreams, rituals, symbols, and the Le Marchand box. Barker wasn't sure if it was madness or fact, but the labyrinth's description, the Cenobites, the hooks that hummed, all too detailed. He investigated, found reports of missing persons matching the journal's dates, photos matching its sketches, and one carving at the Vatican, identical to the box. His obsession grew and became a script. Titled The Gospel of Pain, the script was rejected by studios. Too dark, too real. Only a small producer accepted it if Barker toned it down. He agreed, changed names, smoothed edges, and Hellraiser was born. But what no one knew, nothing was fictional. Every page was a whisper from a sealed file, every line a memory. Pinhead's design wasn't invented. Barker showed makeup artists a faded photo of a man with nails in his skull. The photo was from the journal. Producers assumed it was doctored, but no one traced its origin. No record, no source, just one handwritten caption, High Priest of Flesh. The rest was shadows and blood. During filming, strange events unfolded. One actor had constant nightmares of iron corridors. A crew member found scratch marks on his arms. Barker claimed the set felt watched, cold. But the film was completed, released. And the world met Pinhead, a character based on terror the audience thought was fake, but it wasn't. After release, a copy was sent to British intelligence, no explanation. Weeks later, agents visited Barker. They took original drafts, photos, notes, silenced certain lines in interviews. The original script disappeared. What remained was the public version, a diluted fable, a mask to cover something ancient. Studios expanded the franchise, but each sequel changed things. Pinhead became more human, less divine. The box became decor. Why? Because viewers who rewatched it obsessively began disappearing. One case, a girl vanished inside a movie theater bathroom. What was left on the sink was a replica of the box. The studio leaned into marketing, toys, masks, Halloween costumes. Pinhead became pop culture, but something lingered. In 2001, during a horror exhibit in LA, a woman touched the original prop box and collapsed. Eyes rolled back. She spoke Aramaic. One phrase, "Flesh betrays, pain frees." Experts buried the incident. Scholars and agents infiltrated fan conventions, listening, watching, gathering drawings, fan theories, symbols. Some whispered that the Cenobite cult never died, it just evolved, and that Pinhead had agreed to become fiction, because fiction travels farther, and faith spreads fastest when disguised as fantasy. To this day, Clive Barker avoids questions about that journal. In 2007, asked if Elliot Spencer was real, he smiled and said, "Pain has always existed, I just gave it a face." And maybe he did. A face with nails, a voice of calm torment, and a presence that still moves behind the screen, behind the words, waiting. What Hollywood showed was just the surface, a diluted reflection, the softer version of something older and real. Pinhead isn't a character. He's a living idea, a concept that wears flesh when summoned. And the more we speak his name, the closer he gets. Because he doesn't travel through space, he moves through thought. And if you've imagined him, he's already watching. There's a rule among Cenobites: those who understand, invite. You listened this far, you saw the signs, followed the story. So if tonight something scratches your wall, if chains rattle in silence, if your skin chills for no reason, don't run. He doesn't want to kill you, he wants to show you what lies behind mirrors, behind pain, behind you. If the box ever appears in your dreams, don't try to solve it. The labyrinth is patient, it whispers, not screams. First with memories, then with voices. And when you realize it, it's too late. Because deep down, we all want to know. We all want to feel. And Pinhead is always waiting, with chains, with silence, with a smile. The box isn't the danger. The danger is wanting it. Because every human aches for something, and that ache, that's what the box hears. That's what it seeks. The moment you try to forget, it returns. On your screen, in a dream, in the reflection of a dark screen. The moment you feel it, the door isn't locked anymore. Now you know, the story behind the myth, the secret the films never told. Pinhead is real, Elliot Spencer was real, and the box still moves. Through hands, through code, through images. Every like, every share, every replay brings him closer. It's not superstition, it's ritual, like turning a cube and waiting for that final click. The movie you saw, just a story. But what you've heard here was different. No soundtrack, no effects, just names, files, bones, all real, all sealed, and now all revealed. You can close this video, but you won't forget. Because once you know, you can't unknow. The box is already inside, waiting to be solved. Now I invite you, if you made it this far, comment below. I saw the labyrinth. I want to know who had the courage, who didn't flinch, who didn't pause, and if this story chilled you, like the box's cold metal, like this video. Share it with someone who dares, and if you haven't yet, subscribe before the box finds you first. Subscribe because the next stories will be worse. There are other boxes, other doors, other beings walking among us, hidden as legends, as fiction, as nightmares, but all of them were real. And I'll keep digging them up, one by one, from forgotten archives, from whispers, from blood. The past is never silent. It waits. If you're hearing this at night, look around. Are you alone? Are you sure? Because he always hears the curious, always moves near the ones who listen. For him, pain is language, and every tear is an invitation. Don't say you weren't warned. Don't say it was just a video, because you watched, you heard, and now he has seen you. In the end, Pinhead doesn't want your soul or your prayers. He wants something purer. He wants your attention, your fear, your surrender. So next time you hear chains in the dark, don't close your eyes. Look, because when you stare into the abyss, It smiles back, and if you hear, far, far away, pain is just the beginning. Then the box is open, and the labyrinth has begun.